Wildfires in LA County isn't just on the ground, it's also in the skies. We've been showing that to you with the largest civil aerial firefighting force in the world. From tactical planes mapping the fight to tankers dropping fire retardant. This is an air battle like no other, and we're going to bring in retired Air Force Colonel and CNN military analyst Cedric Colonel Layton. Cedric, thanks for being here with us. I think it's just important to note for a second the heroic battle and the heroic actions that these firefighters are taking. It is truly incredible what these men and women are doing around the clock, trying to protect people and homes. I know during your time in the Air Force, you dealt with similar operations in combat, but explain how critical the aerial firefighting is in trying to contain these fires.
Yeah, Jessica, good to be with you. There are so many aspects of this that are very similar to what you experience in combat, especially from an aerial perspective. And one of the key things to think about here is how all of this really comes together. So when you see all these aircraft flying, the different fixed wing aircraft, as well as the rotary wing aircraft, the helicopters, all of that has to be controlled basically in a centralized way. Here, for example, you can see a DC-10, which is being used. It has a huge capacity, almost 10,000 gallons, that can be dumped on fires that are raging in the California area. And these kinds of aircraft are really essential to fighting these fires. C-130s, Cal Fire has C-130s, but the U.S. Air Force has also C-130s that they've brought in to help with the firefight. Many of them have come from National Guard units, not only from California, but from Nevada and from Wyoming. And what these efforts are basically is based on being able to use as much power as you possibly can bring to bear against a specific area. So just like you would run a bombing campaign in combat, you would be actually using these aircraft to target specific areas of the fire. And if you get those areas under control, then you can move ground teams in and use those ground teams to tamp down the flames in that specific area. So it's basically a rolling activity that goes on based on not only what they see, but what they expect to develop in the next not only few hours, but in the next few minutes. And that's based on a lot of intelligence work that the fire companies are doing in this particular case.
Yeah, and we showed a graphic there of all the different types of planes, helicopters involved in this. How do they work together in concert to contain these fires?
So a lot of it is based on really the aerospace management, and this is a fancy way of talking about air traffic control. So each one of these aircraft is queued together, tied together with a centralized node that could include the OV-10, which is a spotter aircraft, and all of them are basically run in sequence. If you think of aerial operations kind of like a ballet, where you have certain roles that each particular person has, in this case, each particular airframe has, and you bring in the heavy aircraft in order to take care of major areas of fire. And then you take, for example, the CL-415 that you see there. It picks up water from the ocean in this case, and then moves that water to the point where it can actually be dumped on a specific fire. And the air traffic controllers, the airspace managers, they basically take care of making sure that those aircraft are at a specific target area at the time that they're needed. And when they do that, they're basically choreographing the entire battle against that fire. And they do that in concert with the ground teams, so that the fire authorities in Los Angeles County are going to be really taking a look at not only what they're doing on the ground, but how effective the air piece is. And the air piece can be extremely effective because they bring so much to bear on specific points along the fire line. And once those fire line points are actually attacked, then you can go in and move the containment area up further and increase the amount of containment that you have with a specific with the specific fire, with each specific fire.
Mm. And then just the challenges here. I have been struck by these giant planes, or the C-130s, or these really large planes that are flying pretty low and pretty slow for what they normally do.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, the C-130s, they have a special system on board that's basically been developed since the early 1970s. And what that system does is it has over 28,000 pounds of, or excuse me, 28,000 gallons that it can bring to bear on a specific part of the fire. They have to fly at an above ground altitude of about 150 feet in some extreme cases so that they can actually target the specific parts of the fire that they're going after. And one of the big challenges there, Jessica, is that the winds are different at lower altitudes compared to higher altitudes. So the pilots have to make sure that they account for the differing winds, especially in a place like Southern California, where the Santa Ana winds are, of course, playing a huge role in the fire and can actually affect how the airplanes are flying.
Certainly. All right, Colonel Cedric Layton, thank you so much for that context. We really appreciate it.
You bet, Jessica.
Still ahead, firefighters.